Phoronix has benchmarked the Linux 6.12, and it looks pretty all right. I bought an Intel B580. Ascension Healthcare got breached, and predictions for 2025. Hey guys, welcome to No Tux Allowed. I am your host Josh in the wonderful gray t-shirt, which Bigpod has decided he's going to agree with me in recognizing that the gray t-shirt is the best t-shirt.
Yes, it is.
It's almost like it just goes with that almost everything. Almost. So, Bigpod, I've had a wild week here. I'm sure you might have heard a little bit of it, but it's been a little bit more wild than what I've disclosed with you earlier this week, right? Because I went on another distro hopping journey. This time on every single computer in my household. Yes.
Really?
Everything right now is currently running some rendition of Debian stable. After, we briefly attempted to move everything over to Gen 2. And then we decided that we needed to be a little bit less savage with our lives. Sitting there compiling Firefox for like the 8th time, and then realizing that you need to manually compile the kernel for your Pinebook Pro, which is right here in my hand. It's like, maybe we need to be a little bit more sensible. But in the meantime, I also got this wonderful new graphics card that I don't have with me because I left it in the server room. And it's actually plugged into a server right now, which I don't want to be shutting off. But I have picked up an Intel B580 GPU. It was the last one on the shelf because it turns out that they're having some supply issues. And I went out to make use of it, and
yeah, makes sense.
it actually, first of all, the card actually does function on Linux. However, there's a gotcha to it because it turns out that I had to mess around with a Fedora Rawhide system in order to get a graphical environment actually working to begin with. Whereas you see a lot of these people doing like these benchmarks with the latest Ubuntu point release using a couple PPAs. I decided to go full savage. I'm going to go as bleeding stream as I possibly could, without installing Arch and enabling testing repos. That's just asking for problems. So I installed a Fedora Rawhide and got that functioning, and I ran a couple benchmarks just to see how well it would work with some of the stuff that I do. So the very first thing I did was fire off and start transcoding the entire No Tux Allowed library from H264 to AV1. And I decided I was going to compare it with my Intel A770. Well, the Intel Media Driver crashed while I was doing that, so we didn't restart that. Because Fedora Rawhide things.
Great.
Then AV1
is the best.
I got it to work with Blendering, and I got a couple large language models to work with it, and it was a noticeable improvement over the A770. I didn't take like any actual numbers or anything with it, but I could just physically notice it, or just see the prompts show up faster from Olama and stuff like that. And then just earlier this morning, Phoronix puts out this benchmark because I didn't test the video games, but that doesn't mean that Michael Larbell didn't. So I got around to reading this and that's about what I expected it to be. Of which the B580 does have big improvements in a couple places, like synthetic benchmarks like Stress NG, and it. Well, actually, this is the kernel. This is the kernel, not the GPU. My bad. But anyways, I get to sending a couple emails with a couple people that I've worked with previously when I first bought the A770, And I got some email back from people that I can't necessarily share on the show for you guys. Sorry that there's some NDAs involved here, but it turns out that the Intel B580 does not use the i915 driver like at all when you're using the Linux 6.12 kernel, and instead you're using the entire XE graphics stack, which they just enabled as the default option. Which, hey, that's pretty cool. Not only do I have the latest and greatest video card, but I have the latest and greatest driver going with it. It works about as well as you expected. But anyways, it looks like there's going to be some growing pains once again with Intel Arc. Who knew? But it
makes sense.
It's a second generation product. Yeah,
it's going to be
and but on the flip side, compared to first generation Arc, where it worked better on Linux than it did Windows, this time it works better on Windows than it did Linux. Which I found pretty entertaining. But hey, I have the card. It's not going to be on my desktop computer yet for a while, but I do have one. So, and it is like the proper Intel brand and everything. It's the Intel card because I don't want to be buying a Sparkle card again because those I've never heard of Sparkle before I bought the A580. Just saying. But that's pretty cool. In the meantime, Michael Larabell from Phoronix has decided that he's going to benchmark the Linux 6.12 LTS kernel. This is going to be what shows up in your next Ubuntu LTS release, probably. Debian might even ship with it at this point because I don't think that they've done like their package freeze yet for testing, which is also pretty exciting because I'd rather use 6.12 rather than 6.6. But they're showing that the kernel does have some very good improvements. Like Stress NG is almost double as fast as it was. There's also faster decryption times with all the encryption algorithms too. So crypt setup sees like somewhere around a 30% improvement overall.
And in general, the very important part of doing the AI sees some improvements.
AI sees some improvements, but of course there are some trade-offs too. So once again, a lot of these are synthetic benchmarks, so take them with a bit of a grain of salt because a lot of this is just synthetic stuff that he's done, and synthetic almost always works a little bit differently. And he does put in some compilation times though, whereas the kernel 6.12 does compile very slightly faster than it takes to compile using the 6.6 kernel. Which, if you guys remember from a previous episode, we were talking about pipes and how they got improved. That's where that would actually matter. But overall, it looks like it's an improvement in some regards, and a couple of detractors and a couple. It's a kernel. It's not necessarily it's nothing fancy like a hardware, so you're not going to see like grows across the board. But it does look like that there are some improvements that you can see there. Which, some improvements are always better than no improvements. Yep, and of course, breaking news, Bigpod. Breaking news as of 3 hours ago, as we're recording this. ChatGPT is currently down. I know, right?
Oh no! What will we do?
I don't know. Maybe I'll just be a savage and just look at my RSS feeds again. It's almost like I do that every single show. Okay, well, anyways, of course, we like to joke that we're a security podcast, so I did, of course, find a security story for us as well. You see, Ascension Healthcare is a health insurance company that they're not necessarily insurance. They're just called a health care company. I don't really know what they do specifically. Maybe somebody in the live chat can help explain that to me while we're working through this. But anyways, they suffered a cyber attack. It's, your standard run-of-the-mill ransomware attack. And everything that I'm looking at here was suggesting that they asked for it, more or less. Because it looks like that they weren't really running like any kind of mandatory access control systems or anything like that. And more importantly, out-of-date backups. Because what is the best solution that you have against a ransomware attack, Bigpod? Do you know? Do you know what the best defense you have against a ransomware attack is?
Not being connected to internet. Really,
well, you see, a good solution to not having to pay the attacker is to just have a good backup.
Yes, against that is backups. Yes, against that, but to protect against ransomware itself, it's really hard.
It can be, but I have seen SE Linux prevent the ransomware attack before, and I have firsthand experience with that because I walked into work one day and noticed that my server was running slower than usual. So I SSH in, I whip out my top, and I see that I'm running all 48 cores maxed out on it. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And so I do some digging around, and it's like eventually it just kind of ticks in my head. It's just like, let's check the SE Linux log. Maybe it's doing something.
On the note of what Ascension actually does, they are a large private Catholic healthcare system in the US. They have 124,000 employees, 124 hospitals, and 40 senior living facilities operating in 19 states and the District of Columbia by the end of 2021. So hospital management mainly.
Okay. Yeah.
I have no idea what this actually means because to me the US healthcare system is a black magic.
Well, basically what they are is they're the managers of the hospitals. From what it sounds like. So they
so, wait. Don't hospitals manage themselves, and what is about
depends on how
government?
Corporate the hospital is. Yep, because hospitals here operate just like private businesses.
Wow. Technically speaking, here also hospitals are not private, but they aren't like part of the government, as in like they are directly government. They are companies owned by the government.
Yeah, so
specifically by the Ministry of Healthcare.
Well, of course, basically in their report, they have both a filing with the state of Maine and a report that they publish on their own website. Just being general good stewards in this. Apparently, this attack happened like sometime towards the end of November, or October, or around November, somewhere around there. And they're saying that all the usual things were compromised. So, like your social security number, your address, your medical record numbers, date of services, type of lab tests, procedure codes, and all the usual stuff. So, of course, they're doing the free credit monitoring for 2 years. We'll see how long that lasts. And apparently, this is not the first time that this has happened for this company either. And fun fact, if you've been listening to the U.S. political news, Ascension Healthcare is the only reason why it hit like the general news stream is because Ascension Healthcare is operated by United Healthcare. Yeah.
Oh.
So of course, that's going to be a thing. And Bigpod, it's a good thing that my local hospital is not owned or operated by Ascension.
Good.
Bigpod, it's the end of the year.
Yeah.
As we're talking, we have a live stream
I know.
going right now. And, we have these people watching our stream and talking to us in a live chat at the same time. And I'm finding it somewhat distracting because, I keep wanting to look over there. But I'm also recording a show at the same time.
Same.
So, I have a question for you. Normally, what these Linux podcasts do is like this prediction thing at the end of the year. So, I have a question. What do you think is going to happen in the world of desktop Linux next year? Like, what big news? Like, is it Fedora shipping on time for once?
What big thing will happen in desktop Linux? SteamOS won't release.
SteamOS won't release? You mean like SteamOS for like the general ISO?
For general computing, yes.
Well, I've got a spicy one. Because this happens almost every 2 years or so. Debian 13 releases unstable. And everybody's going to call it the best distro release ever for about 4 months, and they're all going to be back on the same train, going like, Debian's out of date.
Yeah. Anything else? Let's see.
Well,
hand in hand with my previous prediction, Bazite will become even more popular than it already is.
I mean, it's only a matter of time until Linus Tech Tips starts using it. I don't think he's put in a video yet, but I've heard of I've seen their employees talk about it. So I know that there's a chance.
Yeah,
there'll be a chance. So here's the next question for you. How many cyber attacks do you think we're going to be talking about next year?
Since the number keeps rising, I'm going to say probably at least 52. One per week.
52 per week?
52 for one per week, so 52. Okay. It's one per week.
Well, it depends on like what we're talking about, like when we say cyber attack. But, like huge information dump is what I'm going with. Something like maybe not quite like the size of CrowdStrike this year, but more like the Ascension Healthcare. That's what I look at because that's like 6 million people. So I'm gonna say 20. Now, bear in mind, I'm not going to be counting throughout next year because I'm probably going to forget. But I'm certain that there's going to be an audience member or two that's going to be sending us an email and saying that, hey, you guys were wrong. You were both wrong. There was 170. But of course, we can only watch so many news feeds at the same time. There's only 2 of us here. We don't have like a whole production team. Maybe one of these days, maybe. But now, Bigpod.
I have another prediction I just thought of. Qualcomm will win the war. Will win the lawsuit with ARM that ARM levied against them.
Ooh, that is a spicy one. I think I might have to agree with you on that one. Yeah, I might have to agree with you. Let's see here. I do think that we're going to get another Linux challenge from Linus Tech Tips. So, I have a question for you, Bigpod. How long until Linus does something on video using Linux? How long do you think he will last before he inevitably breaks something?
Episode 1.
Is Okay.
Episode 1. I'm gonna talk about in terms of number of videos. So episode 1, which it's very likely it's gonna be right at the beginning.
That is what happened last time,
journey.
isn't it? Well, that was a bug from Pop OS, so
yeah, it was a very bad bug by Pop OS. What do you think?
I'm going to say that he won't necessarily break something, but he'll find out that something's missing because of how a package gets compiled. Because, he's probably going to be messing around with yet another Arch-based system, and one of my constant criticisms of the Arch package maintainers is that they're often removing features that are advertised as vanilla features upstream and packaging it missing in their distro, where the Arch philosophy says that all their packages are as vanilla as possible. So they're missing the packages. My big example being OBS Studio on Arch Linux. The native package does not support WebSockets and it does not support the embedded browser, which are both advertised as vanilla features in OBS Studio.
Well, I have another prediction in regards to Linus Tech Tips challenge, and that is that Luke will do just fine.
Okay, now I agree with you because he's probably going to do Linux Mint again. Just watch. But
yes, or he might do something equally sane.
We got a spicy one here. Cyberpunk 2077 at 1080p, ultra perfect.
This is it's actually not a prediction. This is Hikari talking about
his B580.
His
okay.
B570.
I don't have Cyberpunk, so I couldn't test Cyberpunk. Like the latest game that I actually own is Kingdom Come Deliverance, which I can't even install right now because the download fails.
Don't you own the?
I mean, I've got Baldur's Gate, so I guess I could. I guess I could have given Baldur's Gate a try. Yeah.
I couldn't remember the full name. I was like BG3. What's the full name? Baldur's Gate 3.
I could try that one, but that game also runs on a potato. Like the laptop that we're streaming on can run that game.
Yes. Well, I tried on my laptop, and yes, it could play it, but graphics so low and slow. Low and slow. Like how you should make a brisket. Low and slow.
That's true. So, speaking of video games, Bigpod, I'm excited because, Monster Hunter is coming out with a new game. How long do you think I'm going to play that game? Because, I put hundreds of hours into both Rise and World.
Probably 20 hours.
That's entirely possible because that's how much time I've given like some of these other games. Let's look at my Monster Hunter record here. Monster Hunter Rise, I have just 80 hours in. Monster Hunter World, I have. It says 180, but I know that I've definitely played it more than 180 hours because I had that before my current Steam account. Now. We've got the new Monster Hunter game coming out next year, and I know that I have a brother who has played both the previous games for over 1,000 hours each, so I imagine he's going to want to rope me into playing that. But how long do you think we can complete all the storylines in Baldur's Gate 3 before the new year?
We can.
Two of us can?
Two of us can.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Together we can
Just
do
checking.
it. The NPC and the hero will do it.
Okay. Now,
just to make it a bit clearer, I can do it alone, which shouldn't actually change. When I go really slow in about 170 hours. That's when I go really, really, really slow. We're gonna probably not go that slow.
I'm gonna at least watch all the cutscenes and listen to all the dialogue.
That makes sense, but I don't talk about that. I mean, I jump from every possible NPC to every possible NPC to talk.
Hikari, there's a solution
like
to
that.
bad controls on Monster Hunter. It's called get one of these wonderful controllers. Just thought I'd share. Because that's what I had to do. Because, mouse and keyboard, great until you play Monster Hunter Rise and realize just how bad the controls are. They're much better in World than they are Rise. But we've also got the open invitations for games of 0 AD during this live broadcast that we're doing here for the next week. And my question is, how many games of 0 AD do you think I'm going to win? 0? Okay.
0.
And how many rounds of Tux Kart do you think I'm going to win? All of them?
All of them.
I am pretty good at Tux Kart, so there is that chance.
Special, at least you will not lose any. That's my prediction.
Oh, are you saying that my Tux Kart server is going to crash because my server is running Gen 2?
No, because whenever I will play, I will be worse than you. That's 100%.
Okay. So, you the listener might have heard. We are currently recording this episode during our live end of the year party. So this is a week-long live stream that we're running here. In fact, by the time that this episode publishes, we might still be going for a little bit. Because I think it's scheduled to this episode is scheduled to release next Monday, which the stream is running until Wednesday?
On the 30th. Yeah, Thursday.
So we'll be going for a while.
At least.
So there is that chance. You can still catch us if you catch the episode in time. That's going to be on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@NoTuxAllowed. Just hit the live button and we'll show up right there. In fact, I think live would also show up right on the profile page too. Yeah.
Yep.
And
yes, it will.
Oh, he can't find it in search. Oh wait, nudity. Yeah. So
yeah, that's the thing.
You do have that, which reminds me, when we go to play that on the stream, I need to remember to turn that off. Yep.
Yes.
Cool.
I already have it off. I remember to set it the time I installed.
Yeah, because I played through a little bit of the character introduction when I first got the game, and I found the genital option, and I'm like, why is this even here?
Yes. Yes.
So, let's see here. The next prediction. How long do you think I'm going to last on Debian? My goal is the entire year.
I think by the time stream is over, you will be distro hopping, at least on your desktop.
What distro do you think I'm going to go to next? Because it's not going to be Gen 2. Oh, okay. Well, I'm just checking because I'm certain that there's a George Castro that might show up and once again talk me into using these Fedora Atomic distros, or I might get a random message from Neil Gampa asking me if I want to test something, or well, that's normally what happens whenever I switch over to Fedoras, because somebody sends me a video like, hey, can you test this thing for me real quick? I know you don't mind blowing up your system.
Well, we have a prediction in chat by Hikari Knight, who predicts that Valve will continue to sell no hardware to Norway.
That's entirely possible because if I remember right, like those tariffs they're rather extreme for Norway. They're higher than just like the standard EU. I know that much.
And like it's interesting because they sell to the piece of shit that small country that is Slovenia, and they don't sell to Norway.
Yeah, that is true.
Which is always interesting for me when that kind of thing happens, where just a giant European country doesn't get some product, and Slovenia for some reason does.
Oh, well, Hikari is sitting here telling me that Norway is not in the EU, which that's news to me because, I live on the opposite side of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew that. And Norway is also one of the richest countries in the world.
I have heard that before.
But it's important to know that it is a part of NATO.
Well, of course it is. I have a sneezing cat behind me. So, let's see here. Speaking of Valve, we're probably not going to get a SteamOS, but do you think we're going to get a second Steam Deck generation? No? What about Steam?
We might get a Steam console, but not Steam Deck handheld.
Might get a console, but not a handheld. Ooh, so the return of the Steam machine.
Yes. It probably won't be like made by Valve, but like a collaboration with a hardware company like Alienware or someone like that.
Well, we have seen some rumors with Lenovo, so that is a chance.
It's also possible, but my guess is they'll be more in the Legion Go.
Yeah,
their handheld.
And we've seen an update to like their brand guidelines. So
yeah, we haven't talked about that, but I'm not sure how much that will actually affect. That actually affects what is happening.
Yeah, which I know that Asus also has like their own little mini PC, and then that Ion Neo company is also releasing handhelds, but I think they were attempting their own operating system. I don't know if they're still doing that, but that's last I heard. They were doing.
Not sure.
They were making like an Ion Neo OS or something like that. Because on their previous systems, they were running just Windows with Steam and Big Picture mode.
Yes.
It turns out that maintaining a Windows image is actually a bit of a pain in the butt compared to a Linux distro. Yeah.
Who would know?
Something Microsoft update coming and then just undoing all your changes.
Yeah.
So, the next question is, how long, and if SteamOS 3 or the generic image for SteamOS does not release in 2025, how much longer do you think it'll take? They just won't release one.
At all.
I mean, to be fair, with the success that Bazite's shown and Holo ISO, they've both been really popular lately. And even Chimera, I could actually see that happening where Valve might just be like, we're not going to release our own image, but we've got all these other groups that make all these wonderful operating systems as well. And Valve might just share configurations with them. So I could see that happening.
Yeah. Also, the reason I don't see them doing it is because, well, that's just a piece of software and I have to maintain not just for one piece of software, but basically for any configuration anywhere, which is already a pretty Herculean task for basically any company. Remember how many problems Windows has, because it's basically any hardware, anywhere, anytime.
Well, they might not also just not have to care that much about it. Like they might need to worry about like GPU switching, like for like those hybrid graphics laptops that come around, or systems more like mine where I have both the dedicated GPU and the onboard and the on-die GPU for the CPU. So
yeah, but since they're a company and this is basically carrying their brand name, it is a bit different, because what if people start talking about SteamOS doesn't work on my hardware, or SteamOS doesn't work for me, and that goes around and stinks up their brand, especially when it comes to their Steam Deck and their potential other Steam OS based devices. So I think it might make sense for them to keep it closer to their chest and just develop it for their own, or the set of hardware they approve, like for the Steam machines, Steam Decks, and handhelds they approve of. And by that they let other software vendors like Universal Blue handle the general market on Linux.
Okay. Yeah. So, do you think we're going to see like the return of like the Steam machine lineup? Like, like last time, I think what manufacturers got into Steam machines last time? What was it like? I know that Alienware.
The Alienware was among them. That much I know. I believe there are like 4 or 5 machines.
Yeah, I remember seeing like 4 or 5 of them. Let's see here. Do we have a list of vendors? I found a Wikipedia article already.
Okay. Hikari says that it's Alienware, Falcon Northwest, Origin PCs, and those are the 3 that he remembers.
I also see
and
Cyberpower,
Main Gear,
Gigabyte, Zotac, Material.net, Webhalion, Next, and Main Gear. But
that's a lot more than I remember existing.
Which makes me wonder, I don't remember ever seeing a Main Gear device.
I do remember. I don't remember an Origin device, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Alienware stuck the longest. I will never again say Alienware. Sorry, it's the Alienware. And let's be clear, I have all the respect for Dell, because I think their enterprise / professional laptops are the best in the world at the moment.
I still think the ThinkPads are solid devices.
I don't know. Never used one.
So,
actually, I did use one, but I wasn't all that impressed.
I mean, there's been some good ones and bad ones.
Outside of the really old ones that still held the IBM brand, of course. But those were tanks, of their own.
Back when IBM was in the hardware business, everything that they made was a tank.
Well, they're still in the hardware business, just not the kind of hardware ThinkPads would carry.
So, I do think that I am going to be messing around with, like, making my own Steam machine. Because, I have this wonderful TV that gets criminally underused because I've got nothing to play on the TV, and I don't care to watch anything, so I might be messing around with that one of these days. I've got the mini PC connected to it right now, which I might set up as, like, a Steam Link kind of deal. But, I also enjoy the idea of getting a more powerful unit to sit there and actually run the games locally on it. For, like, the faster-paced games that, might not work so well over a remote connection. So, I might be messing around with, like, the Steam machines again myself. But, now, how into VR gaming are you, Bigpod?
I played some games on VR, but not that much.
So, do you think that VR still has a future in gaming next year?
Yes. But in a very niche market.
I could see that.
Yeah. Unless they come out with sub $200 device, it is fairly good.
Well, they've already got sub $200 devices, but like individual components, probably I could see that. But
I'm thinking like sub 200 from a main name brand, It is like really good. I'm not talking about some random Chinese brand or something.
So, another Valve product? Yeah.
Maybe. Essentially, Index 2 that would be like really like cheap, not $1,000. Then we might see adoption of VR by masses. Otherwise, I don't see it happening. Because essentially you're buying two screens that you strap to your head for the price of a new computer.
Well, yeah. Okay.
For a very limited use case. I don't see it like a lot of people going for that kind of device then. But I did enjoy what I played when I could have access to VR headset.
Well, I've never actually used a VR headset myself, so I can't really say anything as to like what the experience currently is. I hear though that the some of the devices do in fact work fairly well under Linux, especially if you know you buy like the Valve brand, because Steam just ships as part of their Steam Devices package. So
Yeah.
I might be seeing if I can pick up like if I get into VR gaming, which I don't really think I have enough space for right now in the room behind me. I might be able to, but I also typically only ever really clean up the room before the live show, because I tend to tinker around with a lot of stuff, so I make a big giant mess out of my apartment about every week.
Yeah. Okay, I think we can talk about our email now. So if you wanna send us a message and you're not live in chat while the live party is happening, you can send us an email at contact@taxbase.com. You can see if you're watching the video version that is not live, you will see the email down below right there. If you want to talk to us directly, like through a social media, you can talk to each one of us on Mastodon, right? Again, down there. Everything will be down there. And if you want to talk to us or like watch our content, mine and Josh that is, you can check out our YouTube channels. Again, links down below. Or for everything, there is also links and things written in descriptions and show notes. Did I forget something? Oh yeah.
Well, of course.
Patreon. Don't forget to think about giving us few dollars and helping to sustain our podcast.
Yeah,
in
and
the long run. And if you are
the main reason why we ask that for the Patreon is because we're doing this show the hard way. I'm certain that a couple of you long-term listeners know about this, but if you go to listen to our audio feed, not necessarily YouTube, there is a whole bunch of relays happening between where you grab the show and where we release it, because we are doing this the hard way. Our podcast is almost entirely self-hosted. The main reason why we're on YouTube is not because we want to get big on YouTube. We're not YouTubers. We're there because YouTube's got a discovery algorithm, because we got to get our names out there somehow. But the majority of our viewership still happens through the RSS feeds, and every time somebody goes to refresh their podcast client, it's hitting a server that we rent out of Atlanta, Georgia, and it serves that. Well, it connects through like an R2 bucket. I think it is R2, not R3. I think it's R2. It connects to an R2 bucket and then sends the rest of traffic. Now, our podcast is growing. Like there is an upward trend in growth. So I'm glad to see that that's happening. which means that eventually I'm going to get that bill coming in from my VPS provider going like, hey, this is costing us money. We're going to start billing you for this now. And if anything, if you go to patreon.com/notalksallowed and give us a few bucks, you're giving me a cushion for when that eventually happens. Because it turns out the bandwidth is not going to be cheap.
Yeah. And if you are live right now, please consider joining our Patreon as well and make this stream even longer. Link down below again. And I think
so.
that's it.
I think so. Is that an episode? That feels like way too short. I mean, to be fair, we're going to be going live here for the next week or so. So, in the meantime, guys, if you're listening to us all in post, I wish you were here to meet us, and because I enjoy meeting new people. But we're going to see ourselves out now because I told everybody I was going to be playing some Baldur's Gate after this episode. So I'll see you later.